Coming up today on the American Sports Show, a preview and outlook of the Valero Alamo Bowl on December 29th in San Antonio, Texas, featuring the 14th ranked Oklahoma State Cowboys and the Arizona Wildcats from the Pac-10. Preview, predictions, outlook, and more of that bowl game coming up next on the American Sports Show. This is the American Sports Show. Now, here's your host, Teddy. Welcome, college football fans, to today's edition of the American Sports Show. I am Teddy Eddy. Today we'll be previewing the Valero Alamo Bowl, featuring the 14th ranked Oklahoma State Cowboys, who finished 10-2, and the Arizona Wildcats from the Pac-10, who finished 7-5. Oklahoma State and Arizona haven't met for nearly 70 years, with a bowl matchup and a home-and-home series starting next season. These two teams will be very familiar with each other, and the Valero Alamo Bowl will be a start to that familiarity. The 16th ranked Cowboys at the beginning of the year were slated to finish 5th in the Big 12 South. This is because they lost their very effective quarterback, Zach Robinson. They were really, the only thing we knew about them returning on offense was running back Kendall Hunter, and we weren't sure how the offense with quarterbacks and receivers would incorporate. But it turned out very nicely for Oklahoma State. They ended up tying the division with Oklahoma. They lost to Oklahoma in that Bedlam game 47-41. If they would have won that game, they would have went to the Big 12 championship game against Nebraska. And who knew what would have happened? They set a school record with 10 regular season wins this season also. The Cowboys are making a school record 5th straight bowl appearance. Great job by Mike Gundy. He's really an underrated coach in the world of college football. Doesn't get mentioned when big name profiled head coaching jobs get open to take those jobs, but he's really done a great job in Stillwater. The Cowboys lead the FBS in total offense. They average 537.6 total yards per game. They rank 3rd in scoring. They're averaging 44.9 points per game, and boast 3 skill position players named to the All-Big 12 first team. Mike Gundy and that offensive staff has really done a great job filling in the pieces to make this the more powerful offense that we see year in and year out from Oklahoma State. But one of the main part is the Biletnikoff Award winner, Justin Blackmon. He is a sophomore and he's the Conference Player of the Year, as I said before. He's the Biletnikoff Award winner and a first-team All-American as a sophomore after leading the nation with 151 receiving yards per game and 18 touchdown catches. Quite the season for Justin Blackmon, I'd say. He just needs 8 yards against Arizona to break the NCAA sophomore receiving yards record of 1,672 yards set in 2003 by Pitt's Larry Fitzgerald. I don't think that should be a problem, considering Blackmon has tied an NCAA record with 11 straight games of 100 yards receiving with a touchdown. But coming into the season, the question was replacing Zach Robinson. How were they going to replace Zach Robinson at quarterback, going to the NFL, such a great career at Oklahoma State? Brandon Whedon was the answer. He's a junior. He's 2nd in the country in yards per game passing, 336 yards, 5th in touchdown passes. He threw 32 touchdown passes. With all due respect to Zach Robinson, he did not put up nearly those numbers in his first season as starter. Brandon Whedon has done a tremendous job for these Oklahoma State Cowboys. And the one part that we saw, a consistent, great part for this offense coming into the season, was Kendall Hunter at running back. He's had 1,516 yards, 16 touchdowns. He's had a great season on the ground, and he's had a great career at Oklahoma State. So they can throw the football to Blackmon. Brandon Whedon is a great job throwing the football. They can run the ball. This is unstoppable offense, probably the best, if not one of the best in the country. Now, let's take a look at Arizona. The Wildcats wrapped up October. They were ranked 13th in the nation in the AP poll. They had a 7-1 record led by a defense that was in the top 10 nationally in points and yards allowed. But since the start of November, the Wildcats have allowed an average of 456 yards, 20th worst in the FBS, an average of 36 points per game, which is 27th worst. Now, credit to them. They have played Oregon and they have played Stanford. Games like that where they allowed more than 40 points in both games didn't help, But still, late in the year against other teams, they still have faltered defensively after starting so great early in the year. To the offensive side of the ball, Nick Foles, quarterback for Arizona, has passed for 1,063 yards with 9 touchdowns to just 1 interception in his last 3 games. He's really done a great job, Nick Foles. The junior leads the Pac-10 in passing with an average of 291 yards, and his favorite target is Jaron Kreiner. He led the league with 73 catches and 1,186 yards. And so that combination lately has been great for Arizona. And they've really been able to get things going offensively from Foles to Kreiner. Now, you take a look at Arizona. They do have a lack of a running game, though. Keola and Tolan, 667 yards, 7 touchdowns. He's only went over 100 yards twice in the season. That was against Washington and against UCLA. Now you take a look at their other running back, senior Nick Grigsby. He's only got 474 yards, 8 touchdowns. He's gone over 100 yards only once versus the Citadel. The next best game is 66 yards rushing. That was against Washington State. So their running game has not been very good. And if you take a look at both teams in terms of statistics, Oklahoma State's averaging 44 points per game, while 29 on the other hand for Arizona. Take a look at defensively. Oklahoma State isn't, they're not great defensively. They're averaging 27.8 points per game. Arizona's averaging 21.6. That goes early in the year. They were attempting defense. They've really slacked off late, but they have played Oregon and Stanford and other great offenses. So there's the statistics and kind of the headlines of this ball game. In terms of what I think of this ball game, I just think the Oklahoma State offense is too much. I just really think Oklahoma State, when you got Whedon, when you got Blackman, when you got Hunter, that three-headed monster for the Cowboys, I think will be too much for this struggling Arizona defense. You take a look at what they did against great offenses like Oregon and Stanford. Oklahoma State is right up there in terms of offensive teams with the Oregon Ducks. They're that good. I mean, trust me, Oregon's a great offense, and they're probably the best offensive team in the country, in my opinion. But you take a look, Oklahoma State is right there, and the way Arizona has been struggling on defense, I just don't think Arizona will be able to stop them today. Now, take a look at the other side of the football. Nick Foles has been getting into Jaron Kreiner. They haven't had much of a running game. Will this be a shootout, if you're asking this? Well, it could be. Both defenses are struggling, but I think Oklahoma State, all they have to do, the lack of a running game, I think they'll put a lot of guys back into coverage. They might send some blitzes to mix it up with Nick Foles, but I think, they're going to get a couple of turnovers, and that'll go right back the other way, and they'll probably get somewhere between probably 15 and 25 points off of turnovers. And, Oklahoma State, they haven't been... It kind of reminds me of the year the Arizona Cardinals went to the Super Bowl. They weren't a great defense, but they forced turnovers. Kind of a bend but don't break and then force a turnover. That's kind of the defense that Oklahoma State has, in my opinion. So I think they'll get those turnovers. And that offense is just going to be too much. Arizona's defense won't be able to handle them. They weren't able to handle Oregon or Stanford. I think Oklahoma State sits right in between Oregon and Stanford in terms of offenses and offensive prowess. Oklahoma State is going to take this game, and they're going to put a 40 spot up on the board against Arizona. Final score, Oklahoma State 45 and Arizona 17. That's my prediction. Oklahoma State will take the Valero Alamo Bowl. So this has been a Valero Alamo Bowl preview. Stay tuned to the American Sports Show for more on college football, pro football, and all kinds of sports from around the United States of America. Thanks for watching the American Sports Show. This has been a Valero Alamo Bowl preview.